I am Audrey. I have started this segment. It's called Audrey Asks Authors, where I do some research on authors and ask them questions that they are not prepared for.
Yeah,
Can you introduce yourself, please?
absolutely. I'm GJ Terral. Some people call me Greg, some people call me Jack. GJ is also fine. And I am the author of the Binding Tenants trilogy and the forthcoming novel, He Who Ate the Wild.
That's not the only thing that you've done, though. You have a few
True.
other
Yeah.
projects out. One of my favorites, actually, is the Not So Mundane Mysteries of Norman Melliman. I'm actually reading it right now because really long
The
title.
mouthful. Yeah, it's an
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite
absolute
books that I
mouthful.
read last year.
It was a lot of fun to write, and that was one because it's a novella. I guess I don't really market it as much as I probably should. Um, but it was
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot of fun to write just because the two characters are so different and so unique compared to like the normal fantasy setting that I typically do because it's more like modern fantasy.
Yeah, it
Um,
kind of had that urban fantasy like vibe to it,
yeah, which was
along with
absolutely the intention. Yeah,
yeah.
along with sorry,
Um, so your co
he's wedging me out of the seat. I'm sorry. Yeah, there is a cat behind me now, and he's like sinking
he's
in
like,
and
actually,
pushing me
this is
forward.
my chair.
Yeah, it's. I mean, he's practically feral. So if I move him too much, he's just gonna attack me. So we'll leave it be.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
just perch on the edge of your seat then. That's the
a
polite thing to do.
little urban fantasy, little sort of uh man, how would I say it? Like Cthulhu elder god vibe, sort of like cult situation going on.
Yep,
Um,
I remember
but
that. That was
I
fun. That was a really fun element to
loved
it.
the Dresden Files, and this is very different from that, but it was definitely a little bit of groundwork for me as far as like the gumshoe esque PI vibe down on
Hmm.
his luck with like Norman and stuff. But yeah,
Norman. He was
he's great.
stressing
What
me
do you
out.
need?
Every time I think about this book, I just think of salsa mustache. I mean,
Yeah,
like it's not the only thing I think about, but it is one of my
sure.
prevalent thoughts. Is so it goes fantastic, organic, like natural feeling, neurodivergent representation with
Yeah.
Lance because so I'm autistic. I've been diagnosed autistic, and as I was reading Lance, I was like, oh wow, this is really I really resonate with this character. So I really loved that representation. And then it goes, wow, this is really cool magic because you don't delve too far into it. You just kind of give us a taste of it that makes it like, oh, this is really fun. And then third is salsa mustache, which is just gives me the ick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know when I was thinking of Norman's voice, I was just like, yeah, he would probably use some of those like weird metaphors, like things that make sense to him and represent like his problems, right? So like he relates a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things to like relationships and like longing and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, the kiss from the taco that he hadn't quite gotten rid of, or it was something along those lines. I
You
don't
can't
remember
say
off the top
taco
of my
kiss. This is a public.
head.
This is you
Yeah.
can't say that.
So it was something like that, and so for me, I really like Norman as an individual, even though I'm like, yeah, he's very rough around the edges, but it was a lot of fun to sort of balance both those voices because they are two very different voices in their way of thinking and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and so trying to get that across in under 40,000 words was a challenge, and it was a lot of fun. It was one of the first stories I had like gone out of my way to outline because I the concept was written in 2022 on the writing excuses like cruise retreat that I was on, and the
Mm-hmm.
project that they assigned for that day to get like a token, I'm showing that you engage in the activities was outline a story, and so I outlined it, and then basically I outlined it, and then 6 months over the span of 6 months I wrote it, and then I just let it sit there for the last like 3 years basically because I was just working on other stuff.
What token did they give you? Was it like a drink token?
No, let me see. I
Oh,
think I got one.
oh, like a coin?
Yeah, so it was like these little. I don't know if my camera will pick it up. So
Oh,
it's these little pirate tokens.
it's like the thing from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
Pirates of the Caribbean.
every day, if you completed the sort of task, they gave you one of those tokens, and at the end, you got prizes, right, for how
Mm-hmm.
many tokens you got. And me being like the little collector that I am, I was like, I gotta get all the tokens, and I didn't. I think there was like a day or two that I missed
Mm-hmm.
because the assignment I just couldn't either get done, or I spent too much time doing like other of the activities because this was just like one thing of many that they put on for that retreat. Um, so I did get like a pirate eye patch was like the tier that I ended up in, and I should
Mm-hmm.
have, from what I recall, gotten the high tier item, which was like a pie, like it was just a pie case, like sheet, like when you bake a pie, you have like aluminum, like the
Mm-hmm.
a pie pan, a pie dish. That's what it's called, I think.
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
was just like
The
a
pans that you bake pies in.
yeah, just like a special one of those for some reason.
That's
And
an interesting. Somebody had that idea. You're like, it would be
yeah,
really great top tier prize for all of
yeah.
these authors on this cruise. Pie dish.
I know that there was a reason for it, and I know that there was like lore for it, but I can, for the life of me, I can't recall. And I should have gotten one, but when my name got called, or it might not have been my name, but it was because of where I went in the order of things, they ran out by the time that I was in line, and they just
They
didn't
didn't
have any
like mail
more.
you one. They weren't like,
I think
we'll
that was
mail
an
you your
option.
prize.
Yeah, I think that was an option, and I was like, no, it's okay. And then like one
Mm.
of the people was like, oh man, hey, you got mine. I was like, no, it's fine. But obviously, I'm still holding on to the fact that I didn't get it because I brought it up here
Yeah,
3 years
4
later.
years
Like,
ago.
where is my reward? So
I should have gotten the pie tin. Um so okay, so that was outlined in
yeah,
2022. So
yeah,
but you released Bloodwoven, Bloodbound, and Bloodless in 2024, 2024, and 2025.
yeah.
Did you write that story before you had written the Binding Tenants trilogy? Is this
I
predate
had
Bloodwoven?
yes, it actually does by a little bit. So Bloodwoven as a concept, I had started my 30th birthday. Like I want to say it was like the day of my 30th birthday. I just carved out like a little bit of time and wrote because the idea came to me. The initial concept of Bloodwoven is very different from what it ended up being, but I always knew
Mm-hmm.
that the magic would be based on like the iron in people's blood, not Sanderson, not the way he does iron and stuff, but literally out of like the bloodstream. And so if you use it, you become like anemic and stuff like that, and there's consequences for it. But I
Oh, I
never
love a
spelled that
magic
out.
system that has consequences. I love a magic system
Yes,
that has consequences.
I could talk about magic all day because I think most magic systems, and not all, like there's a time and place for like the hand wavy kind that doesn't have like visible consequences, as long as maybe something else, if there is some sort of cost somewhere, because it's just like the equation for energy, right? Like energy just doesn't come out of nowhere. It always has like an
Mm-hmm.
equal opposite reaction. It always has something is always you can't create it, right? So I'm not a
Right.
scientist. You can't create energy, but you can take it from other sources, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
think magic is the same way. Like you shouldn't just be able to like poof something crazy happens. There has to be some sort of like give and take, in my opinion.
No, yeah,
Um,
I'm completely on board. Don't get me wrong, I love magic out of nowhere, but there's just like a special place in my heart for magic systems that don't let you just like OP yourself, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Unless that's part. Now I will say, like certain lit RPGs where, and like isekais and stuff where you are overpowered because of the magic and things like that. I find myself liking that sometimes, and it depends on the story and the characters involved. Because if it's just like Joe Schmo and he's like OP for no reason, and it's like that's not fun. But
Mm-hmm.
the trying to think, like there was solo leveling and like One Punch Man, which One Punch Man isn't lit RPG at all, or even like anything remotely close to that. But he is just this like
I don't
super
know.
overpowered character.
I mean, I feel like One Punch Man, I would say like it's almost adjacent to that because he's like, what, I'm gonna do 100 push-ups, 100 squats,
Yeah.
100 whatever every day, and then he's like, actually,
Yeah.
I'm an egghead now, and I'm
Yeah. He
like,
obviously got
yeah,
some experience points, right? Like
right.
he definitely leveled up. But where was I going with that? I think there's just there's a time and place for characters to be OP.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree that oh geez, where did that I lost it.
Magic
I lost
systems. We were talking about isekais and how sometimes
mm,
isekais have overpowered characters, but it's
yes.
okay. Specifically for you. I mean, other people too. Obviously, isekais and lit RPGs are a huge thing.
Yeah.
If there's a reason for the character to be OP,
Yeah.
and OP is overpowered for people who don't know, and then not original poster for other people who are just chronically online.
Like Reddit. Yeah.
There's like a reason for that, and it arcs into the story. It like ties into the
Yeah.
story, and they're just not overpowered to be overpowered.
A lot of times if they're breaking the rules in like a fun way, or if the rules seem like unfair by design, and then like the main character through like either wit or wiles or some form of just outsmarting the system, if they become overpowered that way, for me that's a lot of fun too, because it's like, oh yeah, you're really sticking it to like the man, and in this case the man being like the rule system or something of that nature. So I do like when I see that. And then crunchy magic, that's what I was gonna say. So I'm currently listening to Blood Over Brighthaven, which I didn't know anything about before getting into, other than it was
I also don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's just I've heard it's great. I didn't know what the story was necessarily. I think I downloaded it one night while I was feeding Stella, and I was like, yeah, that'll be my next read or my next listening, because I had just finished the Raven Scholar, and so Blood Over Brighthaven is like hyper crunchy magic, like a hyper crunchy system.
Magic?
It feels
I've
that way.
never heard that phrase before.
Okay,
crunchy magic?
Yeah, it's when the magic system is like hyper detailed. There's a lot of stuff in it, so it's very like a lot of texture to it, right? That's what I think it means. I've heard it around. I've never heard it explained. So if my explanation's wrong, by all means, maybe it means organic magic. I don't know. Okay.
This is new to me. This is all new to me. I'm definitely going to research it after this, though, because I really
research crunchy magic. Yeah,
I will. Because when I think of crunchy in a term, so since I'm like a mom of 3 kids, I've seen like, oh, you're going to be
crunchy mom,
a crunchy mom, and I'm like,
yeah.
So I'm getting stuck there, but I don't think it's anywhere similar.
I don't think it's related. No.
Yeah.
But so without spoiling anything, Blood Over Brighthaven's magic system is essentially computer programming, like coding.
Okay.
Or at least that's the initial vibe up to now. I'm like 8 chapters in, and it's really cool, right? In the sense, and if you understand, and I'm not a computer coder, I'm very far from it, but I've done like very preliminary like research into it. And I was like, oh yeah, so as they're explaining it, I'm like, oh, this is coding, but for magic, and there's like causes and effects, and if this, then that, and da 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 da, and it's pretty detailed. And my one issue with Blood Over Brighthaven so far, and it's very, very good, has just been like they get into the weeds with the magic, explaining it a little bit, because somebody's teaching it to somebody that doesn't know. In this case, it's not the main character who doesn't know, right? Because they do that a lot, where the main character's new and and someone is teaching them.
So you have to learn along with the main character. Yeah.
In this case, it's the main character teaching someone, which is an interesting twist, but at the same time, it's still very like you're just in it. You're in it for what basically felt like the whole chapter, and I was like, okay, well,
it's actually a crash course on magic coding.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. That's the best way to put it.
Would you consider the magic system that you have in the Binding Tenants trilogy, would you consider that crunchy magic or like crunchy adjacent?
I would say on the back end of things, crunchy adjacent, because in my head, in the iceberg effect, right? Like as an author, you have the iceberg and you only have like the tip of it that you show readers, and then you have like the fucking rest.
Yeah. These are all the things I know that influence the way that you tell the story, and things happen, but they don't actually make it onto the page.
And that's one thing that I have had to really work on as I've like progressed in my authorial career, is like, I know things about the story and about the characters that I want to convey, but a lot of times, especially in like the first, second draft, stuff doesn't come through. There's like a disconnect. And it's just because I know things. And so as I'm writing, I'm like, oh, people can intuit this, and they can't, because a lot of times if you don't say something that, you know, maybe they can, but there's important pieces missing. And if you don't think about it, or if you're too close to the project, you're just going to be like, yeah, of course they'll figure it out. And it's like, no, you told them how to like put a car together, but you forgot to tell them that wheels are important.
So at what point in your editing process, and what does that look like for you, to go through and get feedback and be like, okay, this is where that disconnect happened in what I know and what I think is obvious to the reader, but it turns out it's not.
Yeah.
Like, at what point in the editing process does this happen?
I mean, as early as alpha readers, right? So my personal process, and I think a lot of people have a different way that they go about it, though. So I'll finish a draft, and then I'll let it sit for however long, you know, if I'm working on a different project, and if it's not like a time intensive draft to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I said I would release this in 6 months, I need to like stay on it. Then I'll just let it sit for however long it needs to sit, like Norman, right? To me, it wasn't an urgent thing. I figured I'd either never publish it or just leave it, you know, get to it eventually. And then I got to it eventually. A window opened up where I had time, and I was able to get back to it. But I'll do a draft, let it sit for however long, you know, and then get back to it. Sometimes do an entire rewrite. Sometimes start from scratch based on that draft. Sometimes if I'm reading it, I'm like, you know what, I still really like the way that the sentence structure is, the paragraphs flow, then I'll just do line edits as I go, fixing up things, sharpening it. And then I'll reach out to, you know, one or two of like the people in our writing groups. You know, I'm in, you know, like 2 or 3 different writing groups, and it's like, hey, does anyone have time for an alpha? And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And that's completely fine. If nobody has time for an alpha, then I'll just go back, look at it one more time myself, and then open it up for beta readers who, alpha and beta, pretty much similar, except alpha a lot of times is just really early in the process. So it might be like, don't tell me if my sentences sound good, tell me if the overall plot works, right?
Okay, I feel like that's more like scope. So like alpha reader is going to be like broad scope. Beta reader is still broad scope, but it narrows it in a little bit more to reader experience, as opposed to like, am I on the right track? Alpha, am I on the right track? Beta, how's the reading experience so far? Kind of vibe, right?
That's what I think, right? And everybody has a different definition and how they view different things. But yeah, in my opinion, alpha is just a much broader look at the project as a whole. Like, you know, are there clunky chapters? Maybe, but does the story concept work? Do the characters work? And like, is there a reason to continue this, right? Because sometimes you'll write a 100,000 word project and it just doesn't work for whatever reason, and you have to. No, I know,
too many words. It's just, I would cry.
The only project I've really ever scrapped was the working title was Twice Worn Masks, and it got up to 50,000 words, and I can't tell you how little happened in 50,000 words. I mean, it was a slog. It was a slog fest, and I had like, this was before anything else that I had written, right? And it was inspired by my D&D campaign, and it was just 50,000 words of like 5 characters really not doing shit.
Just walking around.
Yeah, they're just not doing anything, and there was like slight buildup of tension, and there was some like character stuff happening, but not enough to justify how far along the project was. But yeah, it was just 50,000 words of people not doing shit is the best way to explain it.
Sick.
And so it wasn't working for me, right? And if it's already not working for you as the author, it probably isn't going to work for other readers. And that's not always the case. Sometimes tastes even from author to reader differ, obviously. That's why, that's why there's so many different genres and stuff, because everybody likes a little something different. So that's the only project I've ever like really scrapped. And then Bloodwoven started as a coming of age hero's journey where like Lynn, the main character, was like a farm boy, right? That whole vibe. And
Mm-hmm.
magic, he hoped magic existed. He thought maybe it did, but he wasn't sure. And then to try and save someone's life, he performed magic. But guess what? Not everyone is allowed to do that because there's rules, and
Mm-hmm.
people who don't like other people using magic saw it. And so he was
Uh-oh.
abducted basically and escorted to a school and forced to either work with them or be killed. And he decided, oh, I'll work with you, I guess. Like it's what he wanted.
Wow,
This is
with
his
those
whole
kinds of
thing.
options.
Yeah. It was I really
And this is
like
the first concept of that?
yeah, and so I really liked that concept at that time, like the idea of it. But I gave it to an alpha reader pretty early on. Once I had finished it, and his name was Eddie. He was like, "Hey, did you outline this?" And as soon as I heard that, I was
Dang.
like, "You know, like
No.
as soon as
Your
you hear
heart
that,
drops.
yeah, because
Ugh.
you know if he had thought it was good, which he liked aspects of it, right? Like let's not get it
Mm-hmm.
wrong. He liked certain aspects of it, but he could tell that it wasn't outlined, and he could tell that somewhere in the middle of the plot meandered, and that I knew probably how I wanted it to start and how I wanted it to end, but that I didn't have like a succinct middle, and he
Yeah.
could tell, right? And so then while I was talking with him, I was like, oh, well, I think I kind of want to age the character up. I don't want,
Mm.
because it is a dark story. And even in that draft, it was like a dark ish story. So I was like, I wanted to be an older guy. And then him being older, I'm like, well, what's more interesting? Like being forced to work with people that you don't, necessarily like, but you have no real ill will against, or being part of the system and learning that the system is flawed and that now you are maybe a rebel because of said actions and X, Y, and Z.
Ooh.
And that was just a lot more interesting to me. So I wrote that story.
Yeah, that hook is really good, especially because I feel like it's very like it's relevant to, especially like to older people, to like their experience in life, because you grow
Yeah.
up in a system being told it's one way,
Yeah.
and then after education and revelations and stuff, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's actually not how it is. This is just what I've been told.
Yeah, disenfranchisement is something that happens to everybody, and it could be with like your favorite sports team. You end up thinking like, oh, they actually suck. My parents told me that they were great my whole life, and I'm stuck with them. It can happen with religion. It can happen with employment. It can happen in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like a very, it's a sort of theme that can resonate with a lot of people. And I had like one or two readers who had like read Bloodwoven, and they DM'd me, and they were like, hey, did you have like a bad experience with like the church or something, because this is reminding me of like something that I went through. And it's like, no, actually, I've never had a bad experience. I was in law enforcement for a brief period of time. My time with them wasn't terrible. I got out. I left on pretty okay terms. So it's not like I was ever with a group and then thought like, man, I really fucking hate this group. So
Yeah.
I was fortunate, because again, that is a very common thing that happens. But it's just one of those things that it resonates with people. So
yeah, and it should be a compliment to you, definitely, that it resonated so strongly with people to where they're like reaching out and asking you. It's because it's been so true to their experience. Like that's really cool.
It was a really cool experience.
No, so you said that you rewrote this. You rewrote Bloodwoven. What year did you rewrite it?
So it went through the 1, the 2. It went through about 3 different iterations. And so I think the last rewrite happened in 2023. And I want to say I started the first draft of it 2021, 2022, maybe. It's kind of fuzzy because I would have been 30. I'm turning 35. So I think 2021, I think.
Okay.
I'm terrible at math. Great with words, terrible at math. We all have our cross to bear.
We do. So, okay, but it's a trilogy. So, yes. Okay, this is where my question's going. So you rewrote it. You had it. kind of the final iteration that was going to go to editors and get published was written in 2023 for Bloodwoven.
Yeah.
It came out in May of 2024, but then you turned around and you published Bloodbound in November of 2024 and then Bloodless in May of 2025. That is a quick turnaround. Did you have also all those books written completely, or were you just
Yeah.
like riding high on it? And you're like, oh, writing the shit out of these books. What did that process look like to writing this trilogy?
It was a little bit like leapfrog in the sense of like I had Bloodwoven with a few beta readers, and then when it was finally at the stage in the final iteration where I was like, hey, I'm going to publish this, I had posted it on Reddit, and a fantastic user ended up giving me some beta feedback. And one question that really stuck with me was because in the iteration that I had before the final, the baby, which is pretty integral to the plot, died very early on. It did not make it through to the end. And the Reddit user was like, hey, liked it, X, Y, and Z, pros, cons. Why did the baby have to die? And I was like, I thought about it, and I was like, dang, the baby had to die because I was lazy. I was being lazy because it's easier to let this character that has no agency and can't affect anything, it's easier to just let that die. And then I thought about it, and I was like, it's harder, but it makes a more compelling argument for the main character to want to protect that child, and now to have something else that he's working for, and to have more motivators. So that was where Bloodwoven eventually landed, was like, hey, and it really helped actually shape Lynn's character even more to become this like surrogate father figure, and he wants to make sure that this child is protected for X, Y, and Z. So once I had that down, and once I had that draft rewritten, I started the editing process, the proofreading process, and I talked to some writerly cohorts. I was like, man, should I just like work on something else, or should I work on the sequel? Because it's I was 2023 from summer to the winter of 2023, I was querying it, Bloodwoven, and I was like, it's standalone with series potential, which is how book one ends essentially. Like there is way more story to be told, but if you read it by itself, you could stop there and feel that it's mostly complete, right? So I wrote that, and then I was like, man, should I just work on like another thing? Because I had like a few manuscripts on the back burner, or should I just work on the sequel? And everybody was like, just work on the other thing, especially if you get picked up by an agent, no idea if they'll want a series, Anyway, so I worked on the sequel because I was just itching to finish telling the story. Yeah. I was like,
you had to. I mean, you were on. You had the momentum. You have to keep carrying that through. What if you lose it? I was just stuck in Lynn's head too. Is the thing, that's my buddy, man. I was there with him, and he was there with me. So I was like, I gotta finish his story. And so once I had book one, finished and edited, I knew where the rest of the story was going to go. I knew Lynn's journey from the moment that I finished book one. So writing book two and sort of escalating the tension, because there is like at the end of book one, there's obviously some sort of war that's going to come. I don't think that's spoilers or anything. And so I just knew that it had to escalate, and I wanted to broaden the scope, and then for the third book, just like bring it back in tight, sort of like a noose. And so that's what I essentially did. So it was really easy to finish book two and book three. So at every stage of that, by the time Bloodwoven released, book two was getting edited, or was with like beta readers so that I could then edit it and then get it proofread. And then same with once book two released, book three was already written, it was completely done, and get it with like Bill and some other people in the WWP crew. So it was very much like a leapfrog of momentum. And that's a crazy schedule that you had going on. how did it feel? How did it, like like you said you were in Lynn's head. It felt
Yeah.
natural, but like there's some, meeting deadlines, getting cover art, doing all of these
Yeah.
things. There's a lot of things that happen outside of just writing when you're thinking about releasing a book. So how did all of that pressure sit with you? How did you handle it?
I think for me it was fine because, I sort of, once I decided that I was going to self-publish, at least that first year, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pedal to the gas. If it takes, it takes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to try and just, put stuff out so that if readers really enjoy the series, they have a completed series that they can go back to, or that they have now. And I don't regret it at all. I think I could have probably done a little bit more of a run up for Bloodwoven, made it a little bit more of an event that it was releasing, but I didn't, at the time, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about the indie community, the self-publishing community. I was, really at a loss. I wasn't with any of the writing collectives like Secret Scribes or WWP when Bloodwoven released. It
Mm-hmm.
released in May, and then like last week of May, early week of June is when like Dave invited me to the Secret Scribes. So it was very much a thing where I was like kind of on my own with this release. But I guess my book had, Bloodwoven had caught some attention of like Bill and Dave and some other people before they really knew me, which was nice. And so they
Mm-hmm.
had read it and gotten some reviews in for it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't regret anything, but I probably would do some things a little bit differently now. Like case in point with He Who Ate the Wild. I'm trying to give it much more of a runway to give it an opportunity to take off.
Yeah,
So
you've been working on not only marketing, but you've been working on a Kickstarter as well, which I have some questions for.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, so you are in pre-launch for your Kickstarter, right? For He Who
Yes.
Ate the Wild. When are you planning on going on live? Words are
Yeah.
hard.
Words are hard. They're terribly difficult. I am planning to launch the Kickstarter by March 13th, so essentially
Okay.
a month from now. I need to do a little bit of research just to ensure that, like, and it's such a small detail, but is it better to go live on a Friday, which the 13th is, or is it
Mm.
better to go live on a Monday when people are getting back to work? Is it better to go live on a paycheck weekend or week, or
Oh,
not? So all these little things that I have to consider. And Kickstarter, my Kickstarter is going to be running for like 25 days. So there's a wide
okay.
window where it is live. So if somebody is interested and then they can come back to it, even if it's not like the prime time to launch, but just little things that like I feel like I have to consider just to give it like the most explosive like go live that it can have.
Right.
So
Especially because it's one of those things where you're gonna get most of your momentum in the front end. Like you might
yeah,
pick up some stuff, you might pick up some steam. And this is like obviously not true for everybody, but as a general
yes,
rule, a strong launch is going to be the the footing for the rest of your Kickstarter. What
yeah,
I think that's really good information for people who are considering Kickstarters and haven't thought about maybe the little nitty gritty details that would really make their Kickstarter successful. What are you doing? So not only, so on one side, there's the business side of like, oh, I need to make sure it's the right time of the month. I'm launching it at the right time of day to hit my intended market. But on the other end is also all of these creative elements.
yeah.
I know all of the Kickstarters that I've seen have been like, oh, we have special covers, we have knickknacks, we have art prints. What kind of stuff are you doing for your Kickstarter?
Yeah, absolutely. I did a lot of research in the sense of like I was just browsing Kickstarter, looking at the campaigns that have like succeeded and funded well, and the ones that have just done a good job and that the community seems to really enjoy. Right. So Wraithmarked Collective, they do these kind of boutique specialty books. There's all sorts of books on Kickstarters that are these deluxe premium special editions. And one thing that I think
Mm-hmm.
is true for most of them is they've got sprayed edges, illustrated end pages,
Mm-hmm.
foiled dust jackets, foiled hardcovers underneath. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want to do all of that premium stuff for the book, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
it's also all a little expensive.
Yeah.
So to get those premium features. So one thing that I was trying to decide on here recently was like, am I going to start with like a basic, you know, still exclusive, like it's only going to be available on Kickstarter with like the a Fuda lined dust jacket and the very simple naked hardcover underneath with the kanji. I was like, you know, no matter what, I'm for sure doing that. But one thing I was debating is like, do I make it premium with all those features from the beginning? Not as stretch goals or anything, but like this is the book. Doesn't matter, you know, how much funding we hit. This is what we do. Or do I make those stretch goals? And I was debating that like for a while, you know, just trying to figure out like one, the math of it, because it does cost money. And then two, if the Kickstarter just doesn't get enough traction, will that make sense, or will it end up costing me more money than it's worth to do that special edition? Right. Because obviously you want to put out like a really cool product for people, for the readers, for the community, but you also shouldn't go into a deficit to do it. Right. At the end of the day, you are still selling a book. And as much as it's like this extra very cool thing, you can't put yourself into debt to do it. But
can't
the
shouldn't.
Shouldn't. You absolutely can. So I don't recommend it. But so with my Kickstarter, I landed in a middle ground. Okay. So what I'm going to do, if so full disclosure, I've been running some like very simple meta ads.
I've seen them. They've come up on my page.
I guess the targeting's good, but I've been running some very simple ones, and my pre-launch page has grown to over 100 pre-launch followers now, which feels not terrible. I'm at like 104 last time I checked. And so I made a promise to the community, to all the followers of it, that if we hit 200 before launch, I'm just going to go with the deluxe version out the gate. So the foil,
if you're backing this Kickstarter, this is what you get.
Yeah, like no matter what, like no stretch goals for it. Like if you back at, you know, even the mid tier that is only the hardcover, right? Like only the hardcover and like a knickknack, then you will get the you'll just get that premium edition, like regardless, because we had so many pre-launch followers. Because you know, they say roughly 30% of your pre-launch followers follow on day one, and 30% of 200 is pretty good. Like at that math. At that math, I can justify not making the premium features a stretch goal. So that's the plan. That's the hope. And at the rate I'm going, I think in a month I probably will clear 200, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But it
I
just
think
depends.
That's very, especially if you're running targeted ads as well as posting stuff on social media.
Yeah.
Have you been posting stuff on social media?
I've been trying. I think I have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Other than the book itself, I'm also going to have some really neat things. So I have, you know, I showed this in the Discord a while ago. So I got these bears in. I wish I could say I carved them myself, but I ordered them. But I did put in the gold hooks myself, and the keychain portion. The keychain portion just arrived today, so I get to put the rest of these together. Now, I only ordered out of the gate like 20 or 25 of these little guys, because you never know how many tiers are going to back, how many people will want it as an optional add-on. So if we exceed expectations, I have a line, I can order more. But if we don't, I'm also not, you know, out of pocket a crazy amount on these little cute bears. And
you can always take them if you're out. You can always take them to author events.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, I enjoy doing conventions. I like selling direct, meeting with readers and interacting, and just even if they don't buy my book, we just talk about magic and stuff, which is awesome. So yeah, I mean, I go to places, I sell things, so I think it'll be good. Like no matter what, I think they're gonna find a home. So there's the cute enamel pins that you designed with the Kara and the Susu. And you know, I think those turned out great. I'm super excited.
I need those pins. I
know. I should just send you some right now, because
oh no, I'm gonna back your Kickstarter. I'm gonna back it. So
But
I can get all the goodies.
all the swag. And then
Mm-hmm.
the recent goal, so I had a goal for once we hit 100 free launch followers, I would show off the illustrated end pages. And I wasn't sure I was going to do end pages, but much like everything else, when I start talking about something and I get excited about something, I feel like I have to do it. And so I had this
Mm-hmm.
vision of like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could get like if I could get like a full spread, which is, very long, of the Hungering Mountain when it crashes into the chamber where She Who Weeps is, if I could get that scene done, that would be awesome, especially if She Who Weeps is like coming out and stuff, and you kind of get to see both these gods in one place. And yeah, I found a guy on Fiverr. His name's Ivan. His handle's Ivan with vodka, and he did a killer job illustrating the Hungry Mountain and She Who Weeps and like a little chamber, and it's a little artistic flair because obviously it's art. So
Yeah.
I think it turned out fantastic. The scale is represented wonderfully, and the colors look great, and so that we have now for the end pages. And
That's gonna look so good.
I think it's gonna look amazing. And the goal is with this book to have black sprayed edges, and the edges of these end pages are black, so it should all just bleed to each other really well. I'm hoping. So we'll see. I need to get my proof copy in.
I can't wait for you. I love being in Willow Wraith Press with you because you've been sharing all of the little progress things with us. I can't wait to see the sneak peek at your proof copy when you get it. It's everything that you've shown us so far, between the art that you're getting done, the little trinkets that you have, I think they're all really intentional, and they're sick. They're just so sick.
I think that's a great word for it, is like intention, right? I think it's really easy to like throw a Kickstarter together and just get like art done, or to get oh, let me do like X, Y, and Z with it, print off a map or do things. But I think people can pick up on like you said, intentionality of making it a cohesive package, right? Like, yes, I'm putting this together, and yes, it's sort of a hodgepodge of different artists and stuff, but at the end of the day, the art direction of it, the goal of it, is to make it this like one cohesive thing. So whether you just get the book or you get the book and the trinkets, like, you'll know that it all kind of flows together, which is absolutely the intent, right? I feel bad posting in Willow Wraith Press about some of this stuff, because I feel like I'm always just like, oh, hey, yeah, this thing's going on and this thing's going on. I'm like, I need to.
I feel like you're posting in the appropriate channels. No, just spam it. You're posting in the appropriate channels, and if people don't want to read it, they can scroll by. It's really cool that you're excited.
Everybody.
And oh my gosh, don't just add everybody. Hey guys, what do you think? At everyone.
Yeah, at everyone.
That would maybe be a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think Bill would pull me aside and have a word with me at that point.
Hey, you got to stop using the at all, Greg. You got to. I know you're excited, but you need to just bring it down one notch.
He's like, just DM me. Just DM me. He's like, you got all that excess energy. Send it my way.
Add me to it too. I'm here for the energy. I really enjoy all of the updates and stuff. So for He Who Ate the Wild, I know that on several occasions that you've mentioned that it's kind of your love letter to Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke. It's kind of, so it's set in a fictional world. So although it does have notes of Japan, I think we have talked about this, it's not Japan.
Not a one for one.
Yeah, but it explores the same themes of the Muromachi era, which is where Princess Mononoke was set. Unstable local rule of feudal lords, the early introduction of Western firearms, Shinto-inspired religious practices, and just nature being either guarded by or depicted as an extension of spirits or gods. So my question, that's like my question is, how do you manage to set yourself apart from Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke, especially since most Western audiences will not have been exposed to media depicting this era outside of the wildly popular movie?
I think that's a really great question, and it's one that doesn't have like an easy answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were at Worldcon together, obviously, and they talked about Tolkien's influence on fantasy in general. And so I think in
Mm.
that same breath, as like a Western writer, right? As a I'm just white boy from America. A lot of my influence is painted by that mountain of Mononoke, Miyazaki, in the background. And I
Mm-hmm.
intentionally wanted to pay homage to it. And so there are like a few like little nods and notes towards it. But at the same time, if you look into it and you do the research, Shintoism is one, it's beautiful, just the way that they sort of represent it. And I have a lot that differs from that. Like Blood of the Kami, I think is a great representation of Shintoism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go nearly as deep into it as he does, and I really just use it as a vessel for like the spirits and the way that man interacts with the spirits, and the reverence that they have for it, and also some of the accoutrement, obviously, like some
Yeah.
torii gates and things of that nature, warding seals, ofuda, but differentiating myself from Miyazaki it is hard because when you have gods based off these spirits and what spirits would be in a forest, then you do see a lot of overlap. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think you were like, hey, the boar. I
Oh,
think
you
you're
know
like, I
what?
haven't seen. Yeah.
I
Go.
went back. So, the boar, the
Yes.
Hungering Mountain, um, the way that it's presented is not the same as how it is presented in Princess Mononoke. But I had not seen the movie, so I don't think I've ever sat down and just watched Princess Mononoke from start to finish. But
It's so good.
it was when my son was like between ages 8 and like 9.5. My oldest son watched it. It was his favorite movie, so it has been on the background
Yeah.
a lot at my house. I actually went back and I was like, maybe I'm just making this up. And I went back and I watched the scene from Princess Mononoke, and it is wildly different. And
Yes.
not only is it wildly different from how you present the boar in your novel, there are boar gods in the Shinto
Yeah.
like pantheon. I don't know if that's the proper word, but like they're very common. Not common. There is a place for them
Yes. Yeah.
outside of what we again have been exposed to through Miyazaki.
Yeah,
So,
and I think so. Demon Slayer is probably the most recent media that I've seen that also uses like a boar. With Inosuke as a character, he wears a boar mask and he calls
mm-hmm,
himself like the boar, the god of the mountain, or god, something like that. And I was like, yeah, it's just that is one of those things where, here in Western fantasy, we have like orcs and we have elves and some of these staples. Well, when you're interpreting, fantasy and history from another location, and if you're not familiar with it, yeah, some things will be like, oh, I'm seeing this thing and that's hyper familiar, but it's because it shares like a root, and it shares a sort of like etymology, right? Like words have roots, right? And
mm-hmm.
different words can mean different things or be interpreted different ways, but they share like that same base. And that's sort of what the way that I think about it with like how I've written He Who Ate the Wild. Like, yes, it's going to take some of the similar like aspects, but it's going to tell the story in its like own wildly different way. Wildly different, yeah, pun intended. But I
It's funny that you say wildly different because in one of my questions I have for you, it is about it was your most recent not so mundane
Mysteries of Norman
Norman
Mellemore.
Melman. Yeah, this is TNSMNMNONM. So the writing between both of those is different. So when you're
Yes.
writing in such wildly different styles, see, I wrote wildly. I was like,
Yeah.
it's in my head. How do you maintain your authorial voice? Like, what aspect of your stories make them undeniably written by you?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I don't know.
Sick. Moving
Yeah.
on.
No, no,
Just
no, no,
kidding.
no. I can
What?
expand. I can expound. Probably
You
the
don't know?
themes. No, I really don't. And that was a genuine worry of mine with writing He Who Ate the Wild, because it is very lyrical. Some readers have said it's verging on purple in some places. A lot of others are just like, no, it's just a beautiful first person lyrical narrative. I don't, my concern with writing that is that I've never written anything like it. And if I don't write anything like it again, will people be disappointed? Because, I think that's a very real concern to have. If I get an audience from this style, and then all my other stuff is third person limited, a little bit more like standard fantasy, is it going to turn readers off? So I do think there's elements that transcend the styles. I do believe that. I'm not really sure 100% what they are. I know that I write with themes of hope and with magic having a cost and things, corrupting and all of that. I know that I put that in almost every story, but I don't know. I'm too close to the project to be able to say like, hey, I think it makes it undeniably me, right? Like I'm just too close to be able to say that.
Okay. Maybe after you've written, I don't know, 5 or 6 more books, we can revisit this and be like, you know what? Now I know what makes a GJ Terral book a GJ Terral book.
Right. So, yeah. I'll create my own genre. It'll be Terralism. People will be like, yeah, that's the.
You just go in. It's really theme based. It's not so much. He's really exploratory in the way that he approaches each of his projects, but you'll always see these common themes explored.
Yeah. That probably is how it is. I just, I don't know. When I wish I was like more of a, like, I wish I wrote with more intention, which might sound weird, but when I write, a lot of times it's just like a subconscious flow. I'm just going. Even if I have an outline, it's just like, and then themes and ideas, and they just sneak in as I go because it's very much based on the character. Like I wouldn't have written it this way. Even so, if I had written Bloodwoven first person, I wouldn't have done it this way because this was the way that Kazuki or Ku, this is the way that he thought, and this is like it's all through his interactions and not really through mine. Maybe that sounds pretentious, but I didn't write this thinking like, let me put my voice into it. It was like, how would this kid tell this story? So,
well, maybe that can be an aspect of your authorial voice, though, is the way that you approach telling the stories of the characters is not so much in a way that you go in with the idea of how would I do this? It's taking the stories of these characters, I wouldn't say that that's a wholly new idea of writing through the perspective of the characters and really entrenching yourself as the author into their thought process. I know I've heard so many people be like, oh, the character it possessed me. I've heard that a lot. And as not a writer, I don't know how much in the process, I don't know what that feels like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's how you feel when you're like, oh, let me approach it through telling the story through this character, or
I'm usually I'm absolutely the one in control. It's not like when people say like, oh, my characters made me do X, Y, and Z, I don't usually understand that. Like, to each their own. And if that's how somebody goes about the writing process, that's all good for them. But at the end of the day, you're still like telling a story, and like you're the one in the driver's seat. So even if your character somehow has backed you into a corner, and you don't know where to go, and you're like, oh yeah, my character X, Y, and Z, it's like, well, no, you hang on now, you put them there. You did that. And just because you need like magic to blow out a wall so they can escape now that they didn't have magic before or something, like that's just, it's not, I don't know, it's not good. Like,
I feel like you're calling out a lot of fan fiction authors right now. A lot of fan fiction.
I haven't read enough fan
like
fiction.
The early 2000s on fanfiction.net. You're calling out so many people right now.
Unintentional call out.
So going back to He Who Ate the Wild and being intentional with the way that you wrote this story and paying homage, but also creating a world that wouldn't be sort of a one for one.
Yeah.
What sort of research did you do before you started writing, or as you were writing, to kind of add some authenticity to your story, and to show your appreciation for the culture and the history?
Yeah. So Google was absolutely my best friend. You know,
Let's
it's
go
not,
Google. Shout out.
yeah, it's not like it's the best resource, but if you you know, Google Shintoism, right, you can get like
Mhm.
YouTube videos, a really good breakdown of just different aspects of it. The spirits that are traditionally seen: sparrows, crows, wolves. I didn't use wolves in this because I was like, hey, I don't need, look, I'm already gonna get some flack. I don't need all the thunder, you know. So, but
Mhm.
you can see it doesn't take, it's not hard to do research, right? I guess is
Right.
what my point is. Like, it's very
I
easy
mean, maybe not
to,
for you. Research
maybe
is not
not
a
for
skill
me.
that research is not a skill that everybody has.
Yeah, that's
So if
true.
you're good at it and you understand how to do research, you should feel confident in your research skills.
Yes, that's fair. I just so it's not a systematic process that I go about,
Okay.
but it's very much a, let me do a brief like overview, sort of like, let me make sure that the understanding and knowledge that I already had is accurate, right? Like,
Mhm.
because through media, through different things, through, you know, my trip to Japan, we consume different things, and so it was like, let me make sure that some of the understandings I have aren't wrong. So that was like step one. And that's just through,
Mhm.
again, Googling, watching stuff, reading stuff. And then once I felt confident that I had a good understanding of at least the fundamentals of, you know, Shintoism, of that period in time, then it's like, okay, let me start writing the story. And if something comes up, let me research it then. So there's plenty of research about like what actual firearms were around and available then. It
Mhm.
helped that the what that Shogun on Hulu was such a good show. I really enjoyed it, and I was like, oh, let me see. And so that got me looking into like more of that. And funnily enough, like Blue Eyed Samurai also, while very
Love Blue Eyed Samurai. That
hyperbolic,
was so good.
it was so good. You know, so there was plenty of stuff that it was like, okay, this is like not quite the vibe I'm going for, but also like I can use that as like framework to better understand and at least consume more media about some of that, you know, stuff in general, some of that time.
Mhm.
And then it's like, okay, what about the topography and what about the area? And it's like, okay, you know, it's never, I think in the version that is coming out, it is spelled out that they were like basically strip mining like the area and getting
Mhm.
resources and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, you know, where could that happen? How could it happen? And what was like the structure like in that time period? So it's like, yes, there are lords and there are these local kind of like, um, I guess lords. Yeah, I'm forgetting the name for it because it's not the shogun. It is,
Does it start with an O?
I'd have to look again. And this
Oh.
is how research often goes. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
let me
Well, that I
pay
mean, this is why
attention.
you have things. This is why you have like notebooks and resource
Yes.
folders, because you're not gonna know all of this stuff. Like you're
Yeah.
also a dad, a husband, have a full-time job. Always, I would never
Yeah.
expect you to just know all of this stuff like right off the top of your head.
Right. So, you know, all of that aside, I think the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure to do though was tell the story with like care, right? Because
Hmm.
it's not, you know, I don't think any of us alive today have like lived through you know, spirits coming alive and dealing with like the repercussions of that and having magic, because, you know, the magical element with blooms and everything was like uniquely my own compared to like Princess Mononoke, obviously. And it's just like
Hmm.
making sure, while I do think, you know, when you're telling a story about like a culture's history and stuff like that, even if it's not a one for one, I think there is consideration to be had for like own voices and things of that nature. um, but as long as you're taking like the care to do even the most minimum amount of research so that you are showing respect to, you know, either the source material or to the just culture in general, I think that's like
Hmm.
step one. And then everything past that is just making sure that, you know, you're actually, you know, dotting your i's, crossing your t's, and not just like taking something because you think it sounds cool, like, oh man,
Yeah.
katanas would be so cool in my world. It's
Sick.
like,
I love katanas.
yeah,
Actually, katanas are so fucking sick though.
they are sick. Yeah,
Um,
I'm surprised I don't have one, but it's
just Just like, you know, the ones where it's like the 3-tier
Yeah,
swords that you
yeah,
mount on the
classic.
wall. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
classic. You could get them at any like Awajimaya or something.
Yeah, no, I just picked mine up from the Renaissance Festival. Tucker made it for
The
me.
red.
And that's one thing that I like, really did enjoy about the whole process for He Who Ate the Wild is there is a huge overlap between like, anime, manga, like fandom nerds and like just fantasy fandom nerds in general. Because
Yeah.
some of the coolest magic systems I've seen have been from like anime, right? And they don't call them magic systems because they're just like the shonen characters have powers and that's just how it is in their world. But it's a magic system. And a lot of times
Yeah.
it's done really well.
So I have one question. This is kind of off topic, but I've been thinking
Oh,
about it.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a baby in Bloodwoven.
Yes.
You are now a father.
Yes.
Okay, so what is one way that you would change the way that you wrote the infant in this story to be maybe more accurate to your experience now as a dad?
I think there'd be a lot more cleanup of the baby than there was in Bloodwoven. So in Bloodwoven, I think there was pretty okay childcare in the sense of like for a lot of it, it wasn't Lynn's like main responsibility. So a lot of the childcare would be like off scene and stuff, and made sure that the one of the primary things right away, because the mother unfortunately passes, is to find a wet nurse. Yeah. Find a wet nurse. And then it's like, okay. And, I had talked with Bill because he had just had, I think, his second child, like very close around the time that Bloodwoven released, or maybe he had her after. The timing is off for me, but he was like, hey, that's not quite how babies act. And we talked about it. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Because when I wrote Bloodwoven, thought the babies didn't really open their eyes, and some don't, but a lot of them do. A lot of them are wide-eyed from day one.
My daughter they stare directly into your soul, and they don't blink.
Yeah, and they, she had like little gray eyes, because she didn't have color yet, and so it's just, so that's one thing I think I would change is just the way that the baby acts. But not how like the people took care of her, because I think they still took care of her. And there's a scene at the very end where Lynn is giving her a bath and he's being helped by somebody who like actually knows what they're doing. And it was sort of like an emotional scene between him and this child. And I think that still is like pretty strong and does like a good job. But all the way that the baby is like, not changed every 2 hours, or that the father, who's like a real jackass, isn't complaining like, oh yeah, why do we have to stop X, Y, and Z? Like he could have been like even more, because people already hate him, but he could have gone up to like a 15 if he had like reacted more with the child.
So Bloodwoven was your flagship trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And then are you working on, and so you've had a novella, another Bitter Ends, that was a novella as well.
Yeah.
And then you're pre-launching, so you're getting ready to release He Who Ate the Wild. Are you working on any other projects that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so many other projects, unfortunately. I say unfortunately just because
unfortunately
it's like, so I was a part of also an anthology with the Secret Scribes, and I may or may not be working on another short story anthology.
Yeah, so look how pretty that
is. Come on, so nice. I ended up, I think in November, I got through all the short stories in here, and I don't think there was one that I didn't like. They're all pretty good. And I would tell you if I didn't like them, because it is what it is. But I think everybody did a pretty good job. And so projects I have in the works right now, initially He Who Ate the Wild wasn't going to release until maybe 2027 was like my initial timeline. And you don't have like, it didn't get moved up because I rushed it. It got moved up because I was excited about it. And it ended up being an easier project to get out than what was coming out before it, which was Cracks of the Deepest Black, which is like a Final Fantasy meets Legend of Zelda, like big epic fantasy, multi-POV, yada yada. So that's on what will hopefully be its last rewrite. It went through the beta stage. I wrote it, rewrote it, went through the beta stage, and then got some like really good feedback that like the way that I had the chapter structured, it was just cutting tension, because I was alternating POVs every chapter just to alternate them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, you know, it's her chapter, it's his chapter, it's his chapter. Now it's her chapter, his chapter, his chapter. So I was just doing that because for me that was easier. And then Bill and Andres were like, hey, you're cutting out tension in these like high tension scenes. And if you rearrange it a little bit, you keep the tension, resolve some tension, dip into new tension. And then, you know, you don't have, because there were like, because of the way I structured it, like small time jumps, sort of like a complaint I saw in Norman was like the final like climax, you have like it alternating between Norman and Lance like really quickly. And occasionally there would be like a little slip back in time to show it from like Lance's point of view instead of Norman's. A lot of people are fine with that. Some people have pointed out like, oh, it just, it feels weird. It's like, okay. So I had done that in Cracks also a little bit. And so I got rid of any instance of that. So it's all just like linear. It's all going straight without any slight pullbacks from like different POVs. And then I also have what I sort of consider my magnum opus, which is Of Stars Below, which is
that's a sick ass title.
I fucking love the title. It's the first title I've come up with. Cool. I had this before I had Bloodwoven.
Okay.
I wrote this before Bloodwoven, but it is a big multi-POV epic fantasy again. And I wasn't ready to write it. That's the easiest way to explain it. Getting better and better and improving my craft. You know, now I'm at the point where it's like, I'd like to release this before 2030 if I can. No real reason why other than to just do it. And then I started a new project this week.
Oh, neat. Cool.
Yeah. Just because I was like, you know, I want to do something a little more grimdark, a little more with a little bit more what's the opposite of hope? Like doom. I started writing it and I have a title for that too. I decided I really like the title Until the End Calls Us Home. I was like,
sick. Just some sick fucking titles, dude.
Look, even if
they're so good.
If I don't get known as like a great indie writer or a great writer in general, at least people will go down saying that guy had some sick titles.
Some just fucking banger titles.
I really want to, I felt like the best way to differentiate myself with this and to make it known that it's like going to be a bit darker or be a bit like rougher and grimdark light. Chapter 1 is titled Honor Amongst Assholes instead of like Honor Amongst Thieves or something. It's just like straight to the point. There's going to be cursing. There's going to be bad shit happening. And we'll see how we go because people love grimdark. So maybe that'll be
people love it's having. There are a few things that are having their moment right now, and it is grimdark. And on the other side, cozy fantasy.
That's true. Yeah, it is funny that it's the two sort of polar opposites that are having that moments a little bit.
And duologies too are kind of having, for the last couple of years, they've kind of had their moment. People are shifting away from. That's not fair to say. They're not shifting away from trilogies, but I find that duologies are more commonplace now as a way to tell a fulfilling story as opposed to extending it into 3 books when it doesn't necessarily need to be.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't need to be 3. I had initially planned, so all of my big epic fantasies, you know, Cracks of the Deepest Black and Of Stars Below, I anticipated them to be
sorry.
I anticipated them to be duologies actually. And I already have the second book's titles named, but after talking with like Alex and Bill and you know, they're just like, you've got too much story to fit into 2 books. You're not Sanderson, so like publishing a 350K book just doesn't really work, you know, in the indie space. I mean, I'm sure like maybe at this point, like Ryan Cahill probably could get away with it because he's like,
but he's
so big and known,
different.
You know,
he's
built different. Yeah, he's built different. Have you seen the man? He's built different.
He's got that accent. He's so tall. Not to say that
he's so tall.
You're pretty tall too, but he's just like a mountain of a person.
I was shocked when I saw him. I was like, that is a tall man. It made me think of the. Have you seen those Japanese commercials? The long man for the gum. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I'm gonna have to look it up.
It's a thing.
Now.
there's a whole story being told across those commercials. You have to watch them. I think it's literally just called Long Long Man. Yeah. So hey.
Okay. I'll
It's
check
about
it out.
gum.
I'll check it
It's
out.
about gum. I don't know what to tell you.
Sure. That was one of the things. Okay, that was one of the things at Worldcon. This is kind of like off topic, but one of the things at Worldcon that I was really shocked by is how tall everybody was. I was like, I've only known you guys on socials, and I don't know, like I'm not super short for a woman. So in my brain, I'm just like, oh, you guys are all probably about between like 5'10", 6 foot. And then I was like, the whole time at Worldcon, just looking up at everybody.
There were two people who really surprised me at how tall they were.
Can I guess?
I think you already know. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it ZB Steele and Noah Brisk?
Yeah, absolutely.
Me
too. For some reason, and it's not because they give off like any sort of vibe. I was just like, yeah, I think because Noah often just records like here, right? Like with his like videos. And ZB never did like any recordings. He just, I don't know. I think he just looks short. And then he's like 6 foot something, I think. Yeah.
You guys were like right around the same height. Remember that time we killed him?
Yeah, that was fun. Dropped him.
The Prince of Grimdark. We almost didn't get book 2 of Song of the Damned because we almost murdered him by accident.
I mean, I wouldn't feel too bad. You know, he probably had it coming. I actually did. I felt terrible when it was like, wait, you're picking up now? And I'm just like, yeah, where aren't we? It was so poorly timed.
I feel like at the end of the day, I had his head though, so it would have been on me. So it's okay.
Yeah,
you could have got off scot-free. It would have been okay.
I'm sure he was just like, why are these fuckers lifting me?
He's like, I'm never.
He's like, I let them follow me around, and this is how they treat me. Like,
I know.
That was the vibe.
Because he was the extrovert. He's just so. That was the other thing that shocked me is how extroverted he was in person, and I was like, perfect. As an introvert myself in a giant group of people, absolutely. Please let me float behind you. Pick up on your scraps.
Yeah, it wasn't until I got a little bit of whiskey, then I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can talk to people. Hi, I'm Greg. Nice to meet you.
Was there anything that you were hoping I would ask you about that I didn't ask you about?
Not that
anything
I can think
that you
of.
want to? Any sales or? I mean, we touched on the Kickstarter for He Who Ate the Wild and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's anything else that you want to shout out?
No, I guess to end it, just people can find me on socials. It's GJ Terral Writes on most socials. X might be different still. I don't really remember. And then the Kickstarter pre-launch is doing pretty well. And if you follow and we get up to 200 pre-launch followers, the premium hyper deluxe stuff is going to be just out the gate is what the book's going to be. And then stretch goals will be like art and stuff versus trying to make it a premium book. So
let's fucking go. I bet we can get you to 200.
I think so.
Maybe not this interview, but
it's a collective effort.
It's a collective effort. 200 for that premium book option.
The thing is, even if we don't get there before launch, it'll be stretch goals, and I think I'm going to set them so that momentum can kind of carry them forward, if that makes sense. So I think we'll be okay. But if the sound of Shinto inspired dark fantasy sounds good, check out He Who Ate the Wild. Early reviews have been like insanely positive. For the most part, there have been some 2 stars, and that's okay. But
that's okay.
That's just the way of it. And I think the excitement and passion that I had for the project it really shines through. So
having read an early version of He Who Ate the Wild, I can tell you that it did come through. You could tell as you were reading that you were really passionate about the story you were telling. So
it was it was just so cool. I don't know, like thinking about being able to like put haikus in and it makes sense was like kind of a cool thing. And just having
you snuck the haikus in. Okay, I am not a poetry bitch. I am notorious for skipping over poetry or songs in books. I know it's a really bad reader habit. If you hire me as a beta reader, side note, I will read your poetry. I will do it. But if I'm just reading for fun, I'm skipping it. I'm skipping it. but you wrote them in such a way that they were embedded into the story and not like they didn't break up the text from what I remember, right? You didn't just have
no, I need
haikus,
to
they were like
I think someone had suggested that I separated out a little bit more. So I had put like a space and a space. And then one of the an early reader of the arc, one of his comments was like, yeah, I don't really understand why that was. And now I'm like, well, I'm probably gonna squish it back down together because like I understand the thought of having it breaking the text a little bit, but at the same time, like having it be like seamless and the way that haikus come about are supposed to be like a very in the moment thing, like traditionally a haiku is like you notice something, you comment on it, it's poetry. Broken into like 575, and I think there's other ways to do it too, but I stuck with the 575 format. And so just having it, like you said, in the version that you read, blend and just be a part of it and kind of read as if it's like part of the scene, I think worked really well while still being able to like do a haiku from the character's point of view. Especially because like it's not commented on a lot, but like his father in poetry was like part of his growth, like when he was younger. So it just felt right.
I think from my unbiased perspective, I think that it worked really well. I think as I think you had it separated, not physically, but I think you had them designated by bold text.
I did bold them,
in the version that I read, and it made them stand out as like, hey, this is a little different from what you're currently reading, but it didn't break up like the flow of how your eyes go down the page, because I think that not everybody considers that when they're adding poetry or songs to their story about how it's going to visually break up your page. And so I originally read it was seamless. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it. I was just super excited about the story. So
all right. This is good. I'm gonna end the recording now.